Hey, this is Max. I'm back with another CSR2 video. So, one of the viewers asked me to do a video on the Sesto Elemento. Well, one of the things I cannot do for you with the Sesto Elemento is I cannot really tell you much about Stage 6 effects, mainly because I don't have many. However, this boss car, which you win from Harkness in Tempest 3, is one of the fastest Tier 5 cars you could possibly get in the game without spending any real money. The reality of it is that this car will end up somewhere in the 7.3 range, which doesn't beat the top lobby cars that it will run against, but certainly gives it an edge over almost every other non-paid for car in the game. So yes, it is that quick. So is it worth getting? Absolutely. Not only that, this car actually tunes pretty easily and runs almost naturally better than dyno. Now, I don't have nice stage sixes for this car. Body's not bad, but I only have a intake beyond the body. I thought I had more stage sixes for this car than I actually do. So I only have two after playing through Tempest as soon as it came out. So I've had this car for a while, but I've never really seen stage sixes for it. But is the car viable without stage sixes? Well, actually, yeah, it's not a bad car. Um, It's a nitrous heavy car, meaning it likes to have a strong and aggressive nitrous. It can be tuned to some of the highest evo by having the lowest final gear. So you can use the final gear here of 6 to tune, but it doesn't really give you as high a score as if you just put it to 2.0, 1360. Tire grip, again, more tire grip doesn't really help this car that much. It just makes it slower, and the dyno reflects it. Okay, so 10.25, if you put it to 54, where we had it originally in 1360, 10.149. This car naturally beats dyno, which is great. That means that you don't really need a lot of special tuning to use this car in live racing, but because it only beats dyno by so much, and because it beats it only because by a certain way of driving, you want to tune this car specifically to a particular dyno bracket. That I don't usually discuss very often because most of my cars are tuned in a way that it doesn't need to be in a specific bracket. It just does well everywhere because you're beating dyno by so much. But when you have a car that only beats dyno by like a tenth or two, tuning to a specific bracket becomes a lot more important. So a poorly driven round, I did a 10.146 on a 10.149. That doesn't really impress anybody, right? Can it do a lot better than that? Of course. If you don't launch it the way I did and let it kind of bounce red line right from get-go, you'll get a much better time. So let me try to launch it right. The thing about this car is it's tricky to launch. You can't launch it perfect. You can't launch it early, and you don't want to launch it too late, and you don't want to let it spin too long. So there are just a bunch of things you got to do just right to get the best time out of it. And you're most likely going to have to play with it a little bit to get the hang of what this car can do. But when you do it relatively well, you get a very decent amount of time off of what the dyno says. So that is good. Now, it tends to like the nitrous really late, okay? Knowing that we have it tuned to fifth gear and you're using nitrous in fifth gear as well. So this is not a car that requires a fourth gear setup. I mean, I should say a early nitrous launch. Let me try again here. So I'm using nitrous almost at the end here, which gives you a very high speed. The high speed actually does help this car a little bit to get a relatively low time. Is it able to do better than this as far as getting beyond that? Well, you can lose a little bit of dyno time theoretically, okay? Make it slower and still get a very decent time when you run. In fact, you may be able to even beat that 10.05 and get yourself into the nines. Again, a lot of it comes down to launching it properly, late enough, but not too late, and then being able to just kind of use it in a way that gives you the best possible top speed. 321 in that case, pretty smooth overall. I think that would be a good run for the time, 10.022. So we haven't gotten under 10s yet with this setting, but there's potential here for the car. Now you can also give it a little bit of tweak on here to maximize the tire spin. So 10.18, and we're going to go ahead and do it one more time. Now this is again using a live racing setup using the launch button. You obviously can do this as well without launch button for map racing. The car will still beat dyno by the same amount. It just doesn't beat it by a huge amount, but it beats it consistently by a small amount, which is fine. That makes it a very viable live racing car and will make it do quite well, actually, in most cases. Let's see what it did here. There you go, 9.965. So once you drive it in a certain way and you let it get the right amount of grip going, using nitrous in fifth, you can get into the nines with it with a 10.18 dyno. So that makes it relatively viable for live. And since you're already practicing with live launching, there should be no problem to duplicate the result in an actual live setting. 10.18 is kind of a tricky place to be in the grand scheme of it because you really are lobbying with cars that can go down from 10.1 1.8 all the way down to about a 10.05 or even a 9.9 car could end up in this lobby. And that means you could potentially face opponents that will beat you regardless of the fact that you're running under dyno. So let's find someone to race. We can try one of these guys. This may be up to connect. There we go. So this particular car, usually, okay, unless the person's really pretty well versed in tuning, will not get a huge amount under dyno. It could be dyno, just like any other car, but oh man, it looks like that just got wasted. It's not connecting. All right. But it's a good benchmark car to race against. Or you can race against your own type of car in the lobby and see if somebody else may have a slightly different modification set and is still in the same lobby with you. In this case, notice we're still seeing tier 4 cars. Now that's important. These Bentley guys will not run into the nines. They run about 10s. This guy either is running flat out near 10 or he's got bumped one lobby up into the 9.9 kind of lobby. But seeing the tier 4 is actually a good thing. That usually hints that we're not bumped up and we're still in a competitive setting for the lobby. Knowing your car is one of those guys that gets really quick at the end, you want to watch. If you can pull past this P1 GTR 3/4 down the track, you may be able to actually slow down and still obtain the result you want. Now, he's way ahead, but watch how quick you catch up near here. And then you can slow down a little bit at the end, grab the win, and not go crazy with the time because your dyno's at 10.18. You don't want to run too much under it. He ran at 10.112, which is consistent within the lobby. Not a bad overall position. And you know that worst come to worst, if you push it and you drive perfectly, you can always push this car into the nines. So that makes it a relatively competitive car with the current setting. But again, without racing at least 5 to 6 players within the lobby, you're not really going to be able to show or confirm that other people are not going to be able to run faster than you. So here we're going to run fixed CSR. Yeah, I know about the movement. He's obviously a follower of the fixed CSR movement. We'll see if that does in fact accomplish anything with natural motion, but more importantly, whether it accomplished anything with the parent company, Zanga. Okay, let's see how this goes. Again, as I mentioned earlier, if he's not already disconnected and we're actually going to race, that car should run close to whatever it dynos in the lobby as well. So that gives me a nice benchmark to look at. All right, so here we go. I'm coming up hard. Again, I downshifted to stop the car from outrunning its dyno by a huge amount. Again, not the guy that's running right on 10.1s. I did a 10.040, even though I tried to slow it down a little bit. So it's in a competitive lobby. Is it going to stay here for a long time? Well, that depends because you're running right now on a 10.18 dyno and you're doing 10.04s. Now let me switch to a 10.14 dyno. Remember, that was the most effective dyno. And let's go back to see if we still are in that same lobby, because if we are, then it tells you that there's no real difference between the margins. There's no point to put it to 10.18 at that point, because you would probably rather have um, the higher dyno and still in the same lobby and be able to run maybe a 9.96. It is actually more competitive because you're starting at the higher end of the lobby, which is another concept a lot of people don't understand when they're racing in live, is that one of the things you want to tune the car to is closer to the higher end of the lobby without going into a faster lobby, which I just did. So I am still in the same lobby that was in just a minute ago, but I am now running a closer to the top of the lobby tune. Why did I do that? Because you're less likely to get bumped, since your margin of victory with the amount that you're beating dyno by is now a little bit less. Okay, and that's important because you want to show, all right, this guy's kind of slow. I'm going to slow down. You want to show the computer an average runtime that is not too much over your dyno, and if at all possible, under your dyno actually is better. He ran at 10.8. I think he messed up the launch there somehow, but running it closer to 10.14 will not get you bumped as much for running under. But if you are 10.18 and you run 10.0 versus 10.14 and running 10.0, there's a 400 difference there that you're eliminating from the bumping up calculation the computer may be doing based on your overall average time. So having a car tuned a little bit closer to the top of the edge of the lobby, which may very well be 10.0, okay. So there might be guys in here that actually dynos like 10.050. Um, and then other guys that are dyno in 10.2, 10.1s. So everybody here might be a little different. And I know something like this might be dynoing something like 10.4, 10.3, but he's in the 10.0 lobby anyway. So when you don't have a car that can beat dynos through substantial amount of tuning adjustments, like this car, like the Sesto, and you're just relying on its natural ability to beat dynos through driving, you want to also set the car as close as possible to the edge of the lobby. Your amount of PP and actual PP-based upgrade potential does affect whether you may get bumped out of here with the same dyno, but as stage 5 only, you tend to be less likely to be bumped actually than if you had set it up with stage 6s. So this is not a bad place to be. I also find the 10-second lobby to be more competitively strong when it comes to actual drag racing rather than swapping. You're going to see less swappers, more racers in this lobby. And the other good news is, as long as you're not running under 10 flat, your chances of getting bumped again is very low, because you're basically running within the bracket where the lobby is set up for, which may very well be 10.299 to 10.00. So if you're in the top end of the lobby, top half, and you can run right on the edge of the lobby without breaking it, you are going to be doing well as far as staying in the lobby for a long time. Okay. Now, I know I can still run. I try to slow down. I know I can still run past him, but I actually wanted to slow down a bit. It just didn't work. I was actually trying to give him this race, but it is what it is. Okay, so what's my assessment of the Sesto Elemento? It's a great car. That's all I got to say. If you got the Lamborghini Fusions, put it in this car and you got yourself outright at stage 5 a decent live racer that is not one that gets bumped easily because it doesn't outrageously beat dyno. So it's not one of those crazy cars that runs 6/10 under dyno and you got to hit the brakes like crazy at the end. If you tune it to a decent point in a particular lobby, the car will be quite competitive. So if you have the car from winning it from Harkness, then by all means build it. Unlike the Spano over here, which some people like, okay, so I'm not disparaging those who likes to use it. I just can't use it to win anything. This car here is just much better, and it's a good winning car when it comes to live racing. And for newer players that finally got through Tempest 3 and they finally got this car, the Fusions are not easy to come by for any car, but at least it's a Lamborghini, so at least you could buy a Hurricane or Hurricane. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I can never get that car right. Um, that Huracan, okay, the Huracan, um, that car you can buy and strip and get Fusions for the Sesto. You will not get stage sixes though. Stage sixes is going to be the problem. It's going to take you a while to acquire it. But that's what it is. However, if you ever acquire all of them, you're going to have one of the fastest tier 5s in the game. And I can't find the Hurricane in here or Hurricane because, oh, there it is. No, that's the LB one. So the regular one. Okay. Anyway, the regular one you could buy and strip parts and get what you want. We have a lot of tier 5 cars now. Look at this. I'm scrolling all this way through. I still haven't found the regular car yet. This actually is a good thing and a bad thing, right? So many different cars means a lot of parts to try to get. And also, when you're polling for that car in Golden Cups, the one that's a 5 star, you can end up with any number of different 5 star cars. Oh, boy, we've gone through like every Hurricane except for the regular one. Boy, what a pain. All right, I'm just going to forget it because this is taking way too long to find. Oh, there it is. I must have gone the wrong direction. That was way too much scrolling. But you buy this one for this, strip it for like 8 fusions, 7 or 8, and you just rinse and repeat. And eventually you'll get the Sesto filled up with fusions. All right, so that was a discussion of the Sesto Elemento. Um, I hope you like the information I gave you. Again, quick summary is that it's a good car. It should be built if you have the parts. And if you're looking for like a tier 5 car that's similar to the LB Aventador in the way it drives and beats dyno, this is your guy. The benefit here is that you have purple stars, which gives higher freshness bonus on the rear car bonus, and every percent counts when it comes to making RP. So this is well worth investing into once you get hold of one. I hope you liked the video, and please feel free to make comments. As always, your feedback is important to me so I can make better videos or answer specific questions my viewers have with a different video. And please subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications when I put up these videos. And as always, I want to thank you for watching my videos. Have a good one.